again, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. The lighting is weird in this video because it's literally like 1 o'clock in the morning and I have like lights on me from different angles. So hi, there's like a shadow of my tripod over here. It's whatever. We're just gonna deal with it, pretend like I don't have the most ratchet setup ever, and get into the video. So as you can tell from this title, this video is about the professor who really tried it. Like, he really tried it. He really did. He thought that I was the one, but I'm not the one. I'm not the one. In the end, I did end up dropping the class, but let's talk about how I got to that point. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit. So I took Economics 1001 last semester with a lovely teacher. He was very sweet. Not necessarily an easy class because you did have to study the material. Like, it's not like you can just go to class and then make a good grade, you know. You have to obviously take notes and do the homework and do the quizzes and actually put forth effort in the class, which I don't mind. That's fine, you know, as long as you are testing me on the material that we've gone over either in class, in homework, in quizzes. As long as I've seen the material before and I know what's generally going to be on the test, I'm okay. I don't mind. I will study. It's all good as long as I know that I will be tested on the things that I've been learning. So that's all good. I made like a B in that class, but I think I was like 2 points away from an A. I made a relatively good grade in that class. So it was all good. This semester I took Economics 1002, which is like, I think last semester was microeconomics and this semester was macro. So whatever, I could have those two flipped backwards. I don't know. It was one or the other. I'm not real sure because to me they seemed kind of similar, but anyways. So I usually try to do like rate my professor and that kind of thing so that I know generally which professors to avoid and which ones I should take. Well, the problem with my university is that they have certain classifications register for classes on certain days. Freshmen register the first day. Then the second day, I think seniors register. Then they have sophomores and juniors register on the same exact day, which every semester, without fail, causes the website that they use to crash because you have two classifications of people that has like maybe not thousands, but probably thousands of people in each classification trying to register for classes at the exact same time. That's not going to work. So with that being said, it's incredibly difficult to get into a class at all. I still have a class from like my freshman year that I still have to take because I can't get into it any semester ever. But anyway, so I kind of just took the only class that I could take that would fit into my schedule with my other classes that I was already registered for. And that just happened to be with this professor. So I go to class and he introduces himself and he seems like a relatively nice professor, you know, like he's stern, but he's like assuring us that we'll thoroughly go over the material and there'll be quizzes and stuff online. So, you know, I was kind of feeling it was like familiar. Like, kind of like the professor that I took last semester, maybe just a little bit tougher. So I was like, that's fine, okay. And he was really strict about cell phones in class, like no cell phones in class, and if you took your cell phone out, he would like confront you after class. But I was kind of scared of him, so I never did that. And you can't come in late. He like locks the door after the class starts. And another thing that I thought was really strange that I hated about his class is that you couldn't go to the bathroom or else you would be locked out of the classroom. Like, once you leave the classroom, the door is locked behind you, which I don't think is fair because one time me and this other girl, well, I had went out, I guess the girl had went out before me because I saw her when I was coming back to the classroom. But anyway, some girl who went to the bathroom before me, and then I went to the bathroom a little bit later, and when I was coming back, I saw her standing at the door, and the door was locked. Like, we couldn't get back in. And she like knocked on the door, and the professor ignored us. So there's that. So you have to like wait there until class is over so you can retrieve your stuff, because you don't take your whole backpack with you to the bathroom. Like, that's stupid. Nobody does that. So that was very annoying. But that wasn't the most annoying part. I could live with that if that was the only thing about this man that that annoyed me. So the first day of class, he says that attendance is completely optional. And while I don't like to go to class, I do force myself to go pretty regularly. Like, of course, I don't go to every single class, because if most of the stuff that we're doing is online anyway, I just don't see the need to go. Like, half the time my professors don't even discuss the material. They just go on off-topic rants, which I kind of feel like is a waste of my time. So I went to like the first 2.5 or 3 weeks of class without missing any, and I just felt like it was a lot of the material that was on the study resources online and in the homework and in the quizzes. So, you know, I was like, okay, I don't have to come to every single class, like, whatever. It's just not important, because it's all the same stuff that I'm seeing in the homework, the quizzes, all of that good stuff. So I'm like, cool, that's fine. You know, it's great. So all of this is, I'm doing the homework, I'm doing the quizzes, I'm going to class sometimes, but not all the time. So I've got a pretty good grasp on what's going on. First test comes, I take this test, and afterward I feel like I did pretty good on it. It was mostly multiple choice with like 2 pages of write out stuff, like problems, kind of. Like, it was like a long answer thing. I guess they call them short answer, but it's not really, because you're expected to write a paragraph or work out a problem or whatever. So that's what like the 2 last pages were, which is cool. Like, it was fine, and I felt like I did really good on it, because I felt like I had a good grasp of the material. Some of the stuff on there, I was like, I've never really seen this stuff before, like the multiple choice especially. I was just like, I've never heard some of this wording before. Like, it was just weird, you know. And but I thought I did good on it, you know. Like, worst case scenario, I made like a C or something, but like I really thought that I made like a good B or an A on it. So I go home. I think this test was on like a Thursday or something, so I didn't really know what I made until Tuesday. So Tuesday rolls around, and he emails us that he posted the grades on my Econ lab, which is what we used like for study resources, homework, quizzes, all of that stuff. So you go on there. Do you know what I made on this test? A 42. I made a 42 on this test. The lowest grade that I've ever made on a test in high school or college prior to that test was a 69. And I made a 42 on this Econ test. Excuse me, something is amiss here. So I immediately started panicking and freaking out and all of this. So of course I immediately emailed my professor, and I was like, hey, what's going on? I thought I did really good on this. You know, what's the deal? So I sent him an email. I said, hey, I don't know what's going on. Like, can I have extra credit? Like, can I do anything to improve this grade? I thought that I did really well on it. I've been, you know, studying for it. I've been doing everything that you like give us to do. Why did I not do good on this test? So he emails me back, and he was like, I don't give extra credit opportunities. Whatever you made on this test is what you earned. I don't have sympathy for you if you didn't do good on this test. You just need to work harder to make a good grade. And I was like, okay. I mean, I guess that's fair. You know, I'm thinking at this point, like, he's not the bad guy here. Maybe I just didn't study hard enough. Maybe I didn't study the right things. I don't know. Maybe I'll just go to every single class period between now and the next test, and I have to do better. Like, you have to do better at that point. Like, you know, there's no possible way that you could do worse than a 42. Like, there's just no way. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm motivated. I'm gonna do better on this next test. I'll study every single homework, like way more. I'll study the quizzes. I'll go through all the study resources, whatever, go to every class, you know. And I did that. I went to every single class period. I went to, like, I went to every class period. I did every single quiz, every single homework, every single study resource. And if you've ever used my Econ lab, you know that they have a ton of like study stuff. And the kicker here is that there was no book. We had no textbook to go off of. He didn't read off of a PowerPoint. He just came at you with information from his brain. So it's like impossible to replicate whatever he says in the class, even though in class a lot of it had to do with the homework and stuff, but a lot of it was just kind of from his brain, and it was weird. But anyway, that's the situation. So I did all this, I studied really hard, and I was like, okay. Like, I started studying for the second test in this class 2.5 weeks in advance. Like, I'm talking 2+ hours a day every single day for 2.5 weeks before this test. And so I get on this test, I'm super hyped about it. I'm like determined that I'm gonna do awesome on this test. It's gonna be great, I'm gonna knock it out of the park, gonna bring my average way back up, it's gonna be fine. Because I've never dropped a class before. I've never made below a B average before, ever, in any class. And like I say, that first test grade was the lowest test grade I've ever made in my life. High school, college, whatever. And I'm about to be a junior in college. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking for me taking the second test. So I get on the second test and I was actually feeling way confident about it because I'd been studying so hard. So I get on this test and literally less than 2% of this test I had ever seen before. 98% of the stuff on this test I had never heard about or seen or anything like that, because it was just, I'd just never seen it before. It was nothing like the homework. For example, the majority of that test material, what I thought, judging by the homework and the quizzes and what we talked about in class, was going to be graphs and formulas. All this professor did in class was drew graphs and worked formulas. That's all he did in class, other than talking a mile a minute the entire time. So, you know, I get on this test, I've studied for 2.5 weeks, all of the homework and everything, and it's nothing like it at all. Like, I know people say that all the time, oh, I've never seen this before. I had literally been studying so hard, and I had never seen it ever in my life. I don't know where this material came from, no idea at all. So I worked the test to the best of my ability. I didn't feel like I did very good on it, but I thought that I had to at least have done better than the first test because I had studied so much. Even though I didn't recognize the material, I thought that, you know, judging from what I had studied, I had to have grasped something and could logic out most of this stuff. So the email comes saying that he's graded the tests, and I get on the website, and sure enough, I did do better on this test. I made a 43 instead of a 42. Tell me how it is possible for a person to attend every class period and take notes, to work every single one of the homeworks, to take the quizzes and study them, to study all of the study resources, to study all of the notes for 2.5 weeks before the exam, and make a 43. Is that really possible? How does that happen? And it's not like I have terrible study habits. My grade point average is a 3.6. I've never had below a B average. I've never made these kinds of grades on tests before. There's literally no explanation for this. Like I was panicking. I was like questioning everything. I have A's in all of the rest of my classes, and I did at this point in the semester. I still do. I have A's in all my classes. But this one class, I literally had an F average. You can't sit there and tell me that that is normal, or that that can happen, or that that's a reasonable thing that happens. No, there's no explanation for that. It's ridiculous. If this were a set of data points, this class and all of the grades or all of the test grades in it would be outliers, because every other test and every other class I have an A. So why is this class and these tests, why is this the exception? It can't have anything to do really with me or my study habits or the effort that I'm putting into the class, because I'm literally putting hours of my life every single day into this class. So, you know, I start talking to my parents about it. I start talking to my family about it, because I'm just completely baffled. This has never happened to me before. So, you know, everybody's just telling me, go to the dean, drop the class if you can, like just do anything, talk to everybody that you can possibly talk to. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Well, the problem is the drop date, the final drop date, was the day before our second test. So that was terrible. So I'm failing this class. I've already passed the drop date. There's not really anything that I can do. So I was kind of forced to talk to the dean about it. And so I sent him a very long email explaining the situation. He told me that he would look into it and informed me, I was informed by him and by my professor, that this professor had an exception made specifically for him, which is red flag number 1000. This professor is the only professor at the university who, if you're in his class, you can still drop it after the drop date because it is so difficult. No other class, no other professor, you can't do that. Like, if you pass the drop date, you can't drop the class. This is the only professor who you can do that for. If that doesn't say something to the university and to the College of Business as a whole, I don't know what does. If you have a professor where the exception has to be made for just their classes, that you can drop them after the drop date, there's something wrong. There's obviously something very wrong there. So, you know, I don't know. This is the weirdest class that I've ever been in. This is the most emotionally draining situation that I've ever been in. It was an actual nightmare. It was terrible. I hated every minute of it. And of course I did end up dropping it as soon as I possibly could, because there was no way that I could get it back up to a reasonable grade and keep my scholarships and all of this stuff, because I do have a lot of scholarships that depend on grades and grade point averages and things of that nature. And I'm not about to let this old crusty man with a bad attitude ruin my scholarships. No, thank you. Not today, Satan. No, it's not gonna happen. Thank you guys so much for watching this rambly weird video. Leave me a like if you liked it. Comment down below. Tell me about some of your crazy teachers or professors or whatever. And subscribe, because I make new videos every Monday and Friday. Thank you guys once again so much for joining me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!